Hello, I'm Julian Brown, back with our video series on synthetic drugs. Um, I'm going to read some stories that some people have shared on their experience with synthetic drugs. Some of these are pretty intense, and you know, this will give you something to think about if curious, or maybe you've already experimented. Maybe you want to quit. Maybe you don't know how. Maybe you find yourself getting addictive. Hopefully, these stories can, motivate you or give you some insight to just how dangerous this world of synthetic drugs could be. So, one user reported, I was paralyzed after smoking spice. After using spice for several weeks, I woke up early one night, fell to the floor, couldn't move my legs, and couldn't move my hips. All I could do was drag myself by my forearms, and I wasn't making it anyway, so I laid on the floor for 13 hours, screaming, pounding the floor, asking for help. Doctors say another 2 hours and I would have been dead. I'm going to be in the hospital for a long time to come. Wow. Another user wrote, "This is what hell is. I want to share my experience with K2. It ruined my life. When I tried smoking K2 for the first time, it was like everything dissolved into what seemed like a fuzz on the TV screen. I remember thinking this is what hell is. All I could feel was awful fear. I heard voices of family members, flashbacks to when I was younger. The worst experience I've ever had. I was shaking horribly, and I felt terrified and sick. Ever since that day, I've had awful anxiety on a daily basis. I had to quit school because my anxiety was so bad. I overdosed on spice and haven't been the same since." Another story. "I was just sitting there smoking until it all hit me. I couldn't see right or walk, and then I threw up about 6 or 7 times. I woke up on my mom. I woke up my mom, and she laid me down on the couch and called the ambulance. About 10 minutes before the ambulance showed up, I started to have seizures. I woke up in a hospital bed on life support. I had gone into cardiac arrest for a few hours. They thought I wasn't going to wake up, but I survived it, and I have not been the same. I stutter a lot now, and I can't concentrate on anything. I'll be telling a story and just go blank and not know what happened. I always see these dots, and I'm just not all there anymore." And that's from a spice overdose. So, and this one is from a former addict. I'm a former addict. I became hooked while on probation. I went from a gram or less a day to over 3 to 4 a day. As my addiction progressed, my ability to control basic behaviors and motor skills deteriorated. I grew more aggressive when I became upset, which became more frequent the longer I used. One morning, I had a psychotic break during which I blacked out and almost killed my wife. I was arrested and my probation was revoked. Since being released, I share my experience with others to encourage them not to use this drug. So those are some stories from people who had a bad experience with synthetic marijuana use, spice, K2. I know when we think, sometimes we think as teenagers, kids, or just people in general that, you know, this stuff hasn't happened to me, either because you haven't seen it or maybe your experience was different, but it doesn't mean that it's not happening. It doesn't mean that it can't. So this is just something to take into consideration and to give you some insight on what it is that you could possibly be doing to yourself. All right. I hope this video helps somebody. Thank you for listening.